button here so I'm heard. I'm going to click this button so you're heard. I'm going to click this button so the screen is seen. And greetings and salutations to everyone out there.
Hello.
It's time for Discussing Tabletop. It's, of course, the last Saturday in May.
Oh, shit, it is. I didn't even realize that.
Yes, it's the 28th of May.
May is almost over.
I know. Wednesday, I think it is. Or Thursday. Wait, it's the 31st to go to, so...
Tuesday.
29th, 30th, 31st. Yeah, so 3 more days of actual May. Yeah, so it's Wednesday's the 1st of June. Almost halfway done the year. Jeez.
Yeah, we get to go into June. It's going to get warm.
It's going to get warm. Though, the good news for me is it's... bad news, good news. Niece is off. But she does go down and visit her grandmother in Tennessee for like a month. So we'll get to enjoy, quiet time for a month.
No, bad news for me. My neighbor's 4 children are off of school.
Ooh, yeah. Like, our neighbors' children tend to be very young, so I don't think they really have... We counter them a lot anyway.
They're at the screaming age.
Ooh.
Where they go outside and scream.
Mm.
I hear them, and it wakes me up, and I get mad.
So yeah, summertime is almost here. Jeez. I think it's June that we're having our, solstice? Not solstice. Is it solstice? My brain escapes me for what we call these things.
I mean, solstice is
Mid-year. Mid-year. Changing to summer, God.
Yeah, it's the summer solstice on the 21st. Longest day of the year.
It's coming up. But we have a pretty okay set of topics for today. I mean, there's not a lot of them. It was... Not that there wasn't other things, it's just not a lot of interesting stuff happening this week.
True.
And that happens. I certainly didn't want to talk about more Magic, the Gathering stuff. Like, I looked at the Baldur's Gate Commander stuff, and I was like, it's neat.
It's about how I feel.
It didn't inspire me to purchase yet another Commander set.
I don't think I'll ever buy another one. I'll be honest. They're too expensive.
At most, I looked at a few and I'm like, if I ever do get deck planning and actually decide to spend money on some of my decks, I'll just buy some of these single.
Like, I would maybe buy a 40k one for like 40k. But it's as expensive as a miniature.
Mm-hmm. I get that.
I would rather have the miniature so I can paint it and put it somewhere. But you can't display Magic cards that well.
I'm particularly lazy, and it's a pre-painted miniature. I get those.
Those are more expensive.
They are. That's why I have a massive 2-size colossal red dragon for if I ever need to once again use it on a actual board while playing with friends. Because it's accurate to the 5-foot squares that you do in
one day
in
I
game.
will buy a Warlord Titan when I have $200 to just spend.
That thing was $90 back in the day.
Warlord Titans are the most expensive miniature because they're giants.
I wonder how much it's worth now. D&D Mini Colossal Red Dragon.
So
Yeah,
you can see how big this thing is. Here's a comparison of some average people next to this thing. Chat, you can't see this, but this is for Tantus. How big that damn thing is.
I will have to check on my phone for now, at least, which I will do, to see how big this thing is and be impressed by it. That is very big.
It's a big model.
It's pretty damn big. Dang. Man, you don't tell me what prices is from 2006 it came out? Oh my god.
Oh, good lord.
This miniature's ancient. Oh, and in the box it sells for $700. Why but loose? And it's now $535. Wow. I guess this has been out since 2006. Has gotten fucking expensive to get more of it. I'll just let it sit there then, honestly, at this point in time. But I didn't know it was that expensive. Ooh. I guess if life gets desperate and I need a sudden like $500, I've got a source of it. Honestly. But let's talk D&D. Honestly, let's segue. Having a much more expensive than I thought miniature on my shelf.
All right.
To giant options, which is such a weird sounding Unearthed Arcana, but I guess
I didn't even know that. I haven't been on Twitter in like a week, so I didn't even know an Unearthed Arcana came out.
I honestly didn't either. There wasn't a lot about it, and it was just sort of like
I'll see like Jeremy Crawford tweet it.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, go do the survey. But I just haven't been online.
I went onto their site and I was like going through it and I saw them in the news, on D&D's site that they had it, and I'm like, I was very uncertain because normally I can find it in other places other than just their site. But yeah, no, this was kind of just a little unceremonious. I guess because it's like its own thing and not really connected to anything.
Oh boy, more feats. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Not 10 feats.
Mm-hmm.
Still optional.
Still optional. And some of them are prerequisites to levels. Ooh.
Wizard subclass, okay. Based on runes, I don't know what that means.
Yeah. It's because I think it's like the giants are supposed to use rune magic or something. So it's got like the barbarian one, a druid.
The Circle of Primeval, also known as like old druid when you had an animal companion.
Yeah. And it's supposed to be like a dire animal or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it becomes a large-sized creature at level 10.
Oh, that's Titanic Bond. It's a large-sized creature. It's so
large. Big. Ooh, it's the size of a horse.
So Titanic.
Or barbarian stuff. I don't like barbarian. I find it boring. Just not a fan of playing barbarians.
Just angry. I don't.
You get mad. You hit things.
Oh, at 14th level, you become huge.
Oh. Wait, hold on.
When you rage, your reach now increases 10 feet, so your size can increase to huge.
Oh. That's weird, but sure.
So you actually get to be like a giant when you rage. And you get that at 3rd level, you get the large size. That's actually kind of interesting. It doesn't change a lot.
It's a bit like Rune Knight, where you can make yourself big.
I mean,
for a little bit.
It feels more interesting than a lot of other barbarian ones, which is like Bear Totem. Barbarian. I'm immune to damage except psionic or psychic.
There's not a lot of interesting barbarian. I gotta read these feats. I want to see how broken these are, because I doubt any of these are gonna make it into a book.
Let's see here.
Oh yeah, use the feat for flying speed. Okay.
Is there?
Yeah, elemental touch. If you attune to air, you gain a flying speed equal to your walking speed until the end of your turn. That's fine.
Okay, so I will say till the end of turn is actually not bad because it does mean you have to land.
Flying kind of sucks because hold person.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, they did a good job of nerfing the advantages of flying in 5th edition.
Yeah, there's not a lot of advantage to being flying, because you fall damage, and also it's kind of just like whatever.
Well, I always remember it for like flying. Pathfinder. Dragon fly over you. Dragon bless weapon. Dragon keep flying.
Yeah. These feats look like fine. Resistance to cold damage, it's kind of whatever.
Resistance to fire.
A lot of resistance stuff. Another spell feat. As if we didn't have enough of these already.
Oversized
abjuration or divination. Ooh.
I mean, like, oversized might, it gives you a proficiency, makes you be able to carry more stuff. You know, you have advantages against being moved or knocked prone. That's not bad. I mean, the proficiency in a skill I like. I feel like those are usually a pretty good one. I feel like the feats are okay.
Yeah.
You know, they're having level prerequisites kind of weird, whatever.
They're not optional anymore, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Feats are no longer optional. They keep saying they're not.
Although, like, Lycanthrope Barbarian is actually bad.
It actually is pretty bad.
Well, that's the thing is, like, they have never put out a Barbarian which is better than I'm Animal Totem, Bear Totem. Literally, never better. Because that resistance to all damage except for psychic damage is huge in so many circumstances. I take half damage to everything but one specific type which doesn't show up that much.
Wow. Yeah. Totem Warrior is really good. It's the same problem Monk has, where nothing is statistically better than Open Palm.
Yeah, you've got some things that are close, but yes, just being the simple, just Open Palm. I'm just there. It's so hard because they came up with a basic that is just like, this is the very good one that everybody will want to play. Sorry.
Yeah, like for Monk, it's people play Open Palm or Kensai. Those are the two strongest. Barbarian, it's like Totem, Zealot, or Storm, which are the three strongest.
Like, even some of the weaker ones in some of the other classes can be argued for because they're still not, like... They don't have a stand out, I think is the thing. Because you don't have that standout, the weaker ones still are like, oh, I could still play that one.
There's only, like, one subclass I would say is just never worth playing, and that's Arcane Archer, because it's just actually terrible in 5th edition.
Which is sad because they're cool.
Which is sad, because they were really, like, the Arcane Archer builds are, like, cool as fuck in Pathfinder and shit.
Yeah. It's just, it feels sad. Oh, your companion does become a Titanic. You become huge at 14th level. Ah, man.
14th level. That's pretty cool.
And this rune stuff is kind of like, I guess it gives you some special abilities. Neat. I mean, honestly, the rune crafter just... I think it's the problem with 5th edition Wizard, is it just feels just very generically Wizard for me.
I mean, if you're a wizard, your subclass ultimately does not matter. Unless you're like doing blade singing, which drastically changes what the wizard class is.
Side tangent just for 5th edition classes. We've talked about how like things like the sorcerer is just kind of weak and not great in comparison to things like wizard. The warlock has its own problems. I'm going to tell you, wizard has its own problems. There's a reason why I never play wizard. I've played them before in other editions, and they don't feel any different in 5th edition.
I've
looked into it.
Wizard twice in 5th edition and ended up being very bored.
It's just the same as it's been always.
Yeah, it's a wizard.
Yeah.
Even if you're a blade singing wizard, you're still a wizard.
They could have made the like archetypes something that made them feel different. Ritual spells are really good.
That's the only pull to being a wizard is ritual spells. Which, like, are they're fine. Tiny Hut, always useful. But, like, it's not enough.
I feel like they nerfed arcane spellcasting in a weird way. Really, like, Bard's the only decent one in there.
Yeah, if I'm gonna play an arcane spellcaster in position, I'm probably gonna play a Bard.
Yeah.
Because they're just, like, good at everything.
And they're fun. If you really like ritual spellcasting, you could be a brain right human and just take ritual spellcasting.
Yeah, I think some of the other classes also can ritual cast, but not in the same way that wizard can, because you have to have it prepared first, I think.
But I think, like, again, this is like an issue. We will have a deeper dive into the warlock in 5e and how it's just bad. But they made it bad. Sorcerer is just like okay. They separated it out from wizard. It doesn't feel different enough.
Sorcerer,
it's just a worse wizard.
Sorcerer is the biggest disappointment to me in 5th edition, because Sorcerer is so much fun in Pathfinder and in older editions, but in 5th edition it's just so bad.
That's the thing is, I wouldn't mind playing a sorcerer or a wizard in Pathfinder. They're both very different builds. Yes, wizard tends to not have a lot of special abilities unless you build into one of those more unique ones. It's pretty much just, I'm a guy with spells, or a gal with spells, or something, But the variety and choices you can make are what makes it, and the fact that you can just expand your spell book to like hundreds of different spells. So I'm like, you feel much more like a puzzle solving for like you're coming into a situation. What do I need to prepare for this puzzle? While, sorcerer, they're like, the bloodlines make a difference in Pathfinder.
Actually matter in Pathfinder.
So then you're like, rather than thinking about the puzzle side, you're like, oh, what kind of cool bloodline can I have for special abilities, It makes you think of these things, and like, that's why you're attracted to playing a sorcerer or attracted to playing a wizard, It makes them feel very different, but yet still viable.
That's something I will give Pathfinder. I don't know how it is in 2nd edition. I have not played a caster in 2nd edition yet. All of the arcane casters in Pathfinder 1st edition feel very different. Even the Arcanist, which is Sorcerer and Wizard, feels very different from both of its parent classes.
Well, I know that's why Sorcerers are really interesting in Pathfinder 2nd edition, because, side note, Pathfinder 2nd edition, if you don't know about it, rather than having each class have a spell list, they separated it out into 4 different spell lists that were different, basically, you could say like element. There's like a divine spell list, a primeval, an occult, and then an arcane.
Yeah.
And depending on your class and your archetype depends on what you connect to. Sorcerer, your bloodline tells you which one you get. So
cool.
That's really cool about sorcerers. You could be a sorcerer with divine spells. And they made it that divine spells are a lot more like 5th edition, so you'd have a lot more like attack spells and stuff in 2nd edition Pathfinder. They did fix a lot of the issues. But like, I'm playing a bard. I have the occult spells. The occult spells are very, like, manipulation, some attack spells, a lot of weird ones and stuff like that.
Weird one that's like your fate spell where they're doomed to have something stupid happen to them.
I really love that spell. In 1d4 rounds, they take 55 damage because you doomed them to, like, bad luck.
Such a specific number of damage.
I know. Well, I think it's the issue is that, like, because you're rolling the die for how long it is, it's like a set damage, and higher level, you just do more damage with it. And it's a save or fail is the same. It's save or suck. So, I think there is some kind of negative that happens on a success, but not a critical success, but I can't remember what it is. It's just like, it's not like completely nothing, but it's like nowhere near like I'm just getting smacked in the head by like the Rube Goldberg of like it's Final Destination the spell. You Final Destination someone.
So good.
I love it, but it's an occult spell. That's the occult kind of class of stuff.
That's another issue with 5th edition Wizard and Sorcerer is 5th edition has like no spells comparatively.
Yeah.
The spells it does have, you're usually just gonna pick the same spells.
Yeah.
Because Fireball, Blight, Tiny Hut.
Well, both 1st and 2nd edition Pathfinder, yes, like, I'll grant you, an Arcane Sorcerer in 2nd edition and Arcane is pretty much most of, I think, what Wizards have. You're going to have similar spells. Even, like, Pathfinder 1st edition, Sorcerer and Wizard spells were the same. But they had a lot more variety. And then the little abilities you had as a character changed the difference of it. You build your base character differently, and then maybe you have the same spells. You have other special abilities and tricks, up your sleeve. It gives you something different still. So, we have yet another wizard that's yet another wizard.
Yeah, all wizards. That's the problem I have with 5th edition subclasses, is they all feel like you're just another of blank.
Mm-hmm.
Especially rogue and wizard.
Yeah. Rogues are still fun to play, at least.
Oh, rogues are great, but like...
A rogue is a rogue.
Everything you play is a rogue is a rogue. They don't change very much.
Well, certainly, like, my experience with, like, fighter. Different fighters feel very different. That's a good thing. Like, playing, like, the Cavalier. I was defender.
Cavalier still gives me nightmares.
But it was, like, that was my build. I was the defender build. And I could feel that. Or, like, at least Druid, like, I played a Circle of Stars Druid. That feels a lot different than, like, I Wild Shape Druid. Kind of, like, primary do that. I have weird star magic or shit like that,
I mean, when I played a Whisper's Bard, I liked it a lot because you used your inspiration for other things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with the Ravenloft Bard, which I'm forgetting. Spirits. You use your inspiration to do other weird things instead of just give someone a die to roll.
I can see rogues being broken lightning. I can agree with that.
Rogues,
they're just powerful.
They're very strong. I've seen level 20 rogues. It's a lot of damage.
It's the issue that, like, they I couldn't compare. The only thing I could compare a damage output for a level 20 rogue is maybe like something like a level 20 wizard, because it just has really powerful attacks. It has really devastating spells. Level 9 spells are always devastating and can do a lot of damage. That's the only thing that compares it. Like, I don't think any of the other classes can even meet, because sneak attacks are just so ridiculous, and you get a bunch of them.
A great weapon master fighter theoretically could. Because I've seen that one of those output a lot of damage. But in a single attack, no. Rogues are still going to do the most single attack damage.
Well, I mean, I agree that, like, the mage gets one level 9 spell per turn. Rogue can sneak attack a bunch. And, the mage, depending on how many... They don't get a huge amount of those. But high-level spells in general are just devastating. Honestly.
Yeah.
So the thing is, it's like... And a lot of them are save or suck. So it comes down to... The rogue will output a lot of damage and kill something very quickly. That way. But the wizard could overpower something. Same thing with, like, any 9th level spellcaster. A 9th level spell is... Or even 8th or 7th level spell are gonna be devastating.
I will say a wizard teaming up with a fighter is more devastating than a rogue, because you just haste the fighter.
Yeah.
And a hasted fighter is very spooky.
I'm going to check now, because do you really just get one? You get one 8th and 9th, but you get 2 7th. That's still not a lot. You don't get a lot of spells in general, though.
The 9th level spells aren't that good.
I forgot that, like, they nuked a lot of that stuff, so they make it really weak.
Because, like, I mean, there's Wish, which always backfires.
Mm-hmm. Always.
Time Stop. I think that's... Maybe there's a power word that's 9th level.
Might be Power Word Kill. I don't know if they still have that.
Power Word Kill is still in the game. I'm looking it up. So
Wish the rogue into the ocean. Yeah, that's basically something you can do with Wish. Or honestly, if you have Time Stop, just set up like a bunch of... do they still have Delayed Fireball or something?
Delayed Fireball, I think, exists. I think it's a 4th level spell.
Or just like conjure a bunch of stuff that they can fight or something like that. Time Stop has its things. It's because you have to like set up stuff. It's that kind of thing, but it's still not great.
I mean, the best spell at 9th level is like True Polymorph.
Yeah. Just turn him into a bunny.
Because you just remove someone from combat.
Mm-hmm.
You turn, yeah, you could, because you could do creature into object. You could just turn a creature into a stick.
You can still use gate to just summon something.
Yeah, gate. Imprisonment is a thing as well.
Yeah. So there are things that they can do with their 9th level spell that would be helpful. I mean, 8th level, you have Dominate Monster, which, I mean, it's a save or suck. And the Rogue, even if it's at 20th level, is probably not going to have a great mental saves. They don't really have that.
If you allow the Wild Mount spells, there's a 9th level one that's pretty decent. That's a big old AoE. It's not great, but it's like one of those spells that's just like, if creature dies to it, creature ceases to exist in all way, shape, or form.
Well, like 20th level wizard versus 20th level fighter, I'd use AoE spells, but against rogue, nah, you gotta like use non-dex based things because they have evasion.
Yeah.
Gotta plan out for what you're nuking. That's the only thing is, the rogue also doesn't have to plan out for what they're nuking. They can just do it.
Your swarm's also a thing. You just want to blow up a city.
Yeah. But regardless, kind of like it's the idea that like it's the issues of 5th edition again. Like we've talked about them a bunch, and they're popping up some more. I always feel bad about yeah, busting on 5th edition, but I like the system a lot. I will never lie about that. It just has such huge holes that the more I play it, the more I see those. And I think it's sort of like, having played it and now gone back to Pathfinder, it's sort of like, wow, I kind of ruined myself a little bit after all these years going back to Pathfinder, because I'm like, I feel like more Pathfinder rather than more 5th edition.
I still like Pathfinder more. Pathfinder can be a little bullshit sometimes.
Yes.
But I still think overall I prefer Pathfinder.
Mm-hmm. Certainly, if I'm going to just grab some people and play, that's, yeah. I mean, it's like easy. The edition's there, you know.
Yeah. But if you got like a couple weeks to set up, you know, you could probably convince people to do a load up a Pathfinder game.
Mm-hmm. But if you got like a couple like days maybe, or even like if you got some new people, 5th edition's definitely there still.
Yeah, 5th edition is like really good for someone's first tabletop game.
Yeah, it is still the standard, and I will not argue against that. It's just like if you're looking for high level play, if you're looking for more balance, if you're looking for a lot more variety, you're not going to find it. If you want to start getting more into depths, or if you have experience, you got to look to other systems. It's just the unfortunate thing that is like, for those of us out there that have experience, you got to keep that in mind. So, let's talk about Paizo, because they did have a couple of things here. We'll start out with the traditional one. That's always good. That is not the link to this. This is the link to that. Where is the link to here? Sorry, I gotta find the proper link here. I didn't link the Unearthed Giants. Let me do that. Just for anybody that wants to check it out, then. You can. I mean, they're easy to find, the Unearthed Giants, honestly.
Yeah, they're all on the Wizards website or Jeremy Crawford's Twitter.
I don't know if high-level 5e is more balanced than high-level Pathfinder, honestly. I've played high-level Pathfinder.
So I actually think, personally, because I have played both high-level 5e and high-level Pathfinder, I actually think high-level 5e is less balanced. Because they kind of gave up trying to balance it. And that is solely based on the fact that higher CR monsters just exist to sponge damage, whereas in Pathfinder, they are actually kind of a threat.
And then also, I think in Pathfinder, they're built with specific rules in mind. Like, they aren't built to be damage sponges. Like, they have like set hit dice, set abilities, and like they balanced out like hit dice versus abilities, or tried to at least. So granted, they're a threat. They might have abilities that make them a threat, but they are at least theoretically balanced for what you're at. Theoretically.
Yeah. Pathfinder is also more item based than
I have played high level Pathfinder, and it's very item based. You will need equipment. You need to at least have even if you don't have a full equipment for your level, you just have to be like 2 levels off equipment to feel like you're actually gonna make a difference. Which is significant for high level, honestly. If you're like 2 levels off in equipment, it still is significant, but at least you're okay then. But speaking of Paizo, there's yet another Humble bundle and a Starfinder one. There is that one. The Starfinder Bugbuster bundle, they call it.
Ooh.
I don't know. I got one of these Starfinder ones, so I don't know if I'll get this one. I think it's good. It's got the Attack of the Swarm adventure path, the full thing in it.
Nice.
But it goes to, let me give you the proper information, World Central Kitchen it supports. So I actually tell you the charity that they're supporting. I don't know a lot about that. I'm assuming they work to feed people.
I would assume so. They're one. They might be like the part of the global food network and stuff.
Non-profit organization addressing food insecurities during and after natural disasters and humanitarian crises, while operating long-term programs aimed at improving livelihoods by strengthening local food ecosystems.
Nice.
It started in 2010 by Chef Jose Andres, following the earthquake in Haiti. And it's served more than 8 million meals for those affected by disasters as of yet. The charity for Humble that it goes to is that one. So, yep. And it's their Bugbuster bundle.
I still want to be in a Starfinder game at some point, just to try it.
I keep thinking about just running one, but it's this hard to organize stuff sometimes too.
Yeah, organization is the most difficult part.
I want to do I think these are a little easier than some of the ones I was thinking about trying to organize, because this one I can just grab one of the Starfinder just single adventures, you know, that you're just at this level or maybe 2 levels for the adventure. Same with Pathfinder 2nd Edition, they've got some of those. What's the other one that has some? There's a couple other games that just have single adventures that I've talked about, you know, and I'm like, well, I should just do those because they're easy. 4th Edition has a couple of those, and I talked about doing a 4th Edition game because I want to see how well it works with Roll20, honestly, and how that improves the actual system, having a proper tabletop system where it was really needed in place for it. You know, but yeah, it's a lot of books. If you haven't gotten one of these Starfinder things, it's
I always see, because I have a terrible memory. Mm-hmm. I will always see one of these Starfinder, Pathfinder ones, be like, I should buy that, and then I'll just forget.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm always sad. And I'll remember, and I'll be like, oh, I should have bought that, and then I'll go and it's gone.
I got one of them, but I don't remember what it has in it, so I'd have to check and compare and see if it would be worth it.
I think the only Starfinder book I have is the core rule book.
Yeah, I do have a copy of that, too. Because I got at least one of these things. So yeah, that's really cool. They got another one of those. It's about 14 days till it's done. So it's quite a while. But it definitely is always good to have these here.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, we talked about a little bit their big event which changes things story-wise, Drift Crisis.
Yeah.
The book is coming out. It's out this month.
Nice.
So that's a good thing. So honestly, it includes just a little thing. It includes more than 100 new player options, from class options, themes, equipment, and spells. 20 detailed adventure seeds. The effects of the Drift Crisis on factions, worlds, systems, and galaxies at large. Yep. Yeah. So it's basically the main faster than life travel just ends. That's the kind of concept of it. So I don't know if there's other faster than light travel. I'm assuming because magic still exists, there are probably still ways to travel between planets and stuff.
I would assume so.
Probably if you're using You might use the honestly, like the other planes. You could like go to another plane and come back if you know where you're going to on a planet or something. I'd assume, you know. So you could probably like, you know, high level spellcasters could probably still get you there. So it's like, because they do say like Empire still cling on to like stuff. So I'm assuming you know there are ways. It's just that the average person wanting to travel would have to use the drift. You know, powerful groups and empires will still have a way to travel.
Mm-hmm.
So,
pretty cool.
There's some other products out. I mean, none that really scream interesting as much as that one. I gotta be honest. They got like a book on Last Wall, the place that led the Shining Crusade against Tarpathon.
That's cool.
Oh, but because he escaped in the storyline, because I forgot that all the bad stuff happened in all the adventure paths, so he destroyed Last Wall, and so this is like the rebuild Last Wall. They have a book on for Last Omens.
Because Last Wall exploded.
Yeah, Tarpathon nuked it after he got escaped. I keep forgetting that like those like all the bad stuff happened to like a degree. You know, all the adventure paths they happened, but they're like yes, they didn't like destroy the world, but also they sort of happened and bad things still happened. Sorry, you know, we're at the mid-level end of the crisis things. You know, I guess is what it is. You know, there was partial effects for everything. Your player characters didn't solve jack shit. Sorry, you suck. I guess you solved the big problem. The small problem still happened and nuked a lot of people. They're all dead. Don't worry about
it. Sucks for anyone who lived in Last Wall.
Yeah. So yeah. Bunch of adventure paths, bunch of other stuff coming out. I mean, I'll link the page for their big releases, where the top one is the Drift Crisis one here, so you can look at all the releases that they have. I think this is this month's, or because they're now available for the month stuff. They always have a lot of products, honestly. So, hey, many of them are much better than others. Like, it's cool to always have the flip bats or tile things.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not gonna get a lot of them.
No.
But, you know, cool that they have them and all, like, the deck stuff. So, we should move on. I'm just going to throw this docket up again for anybody kind of coming in a little later here. Let's talk Castles of Burgundy. Now, I wanted to talk about this one because I'm actually a fan of this game. This is a crowdfund for a special edition of it. A friend of mine introduced me to this board game a while ago, years ago now. And it's the idea that you build up like your own little like, what's the best way to describe it? Territory in Burgundy in France. So you like develop it with like, you know, you have shipping on the rivers. You build like up towns and areas, farming. You have grazing animals, you have industry. So you get like a basic hexagonal board with tile layouts, and the object is those certain areas can be built in things. Like I think the dark squares, if you're looking at this, are like mines and stuff. The blue is, of course, rivers where you can have shipping, all those kind of things. And each time you build one, you get stuff for it. And it's like a compounding thing that also gives you points and bonuses and stuff like that. And it kind of increases as you're kind of building. And it's based on, like, you roll some dice kind of thing, and you have to see what you can purchase with those dice almost. So that's the idea, is like, there's like a market where it changes every like set of turns, and those determine what dice are for what kind of thing. So, you know, it's an interesting kind of game. I'll have to play it like on tabletop sometime. I don't know if I have played Castles of Burgundy. It's like up to a 4-player game, 1 to 4 players. You can, I don't know. I know you can play yourself. I've never looked into it.
I've never played personally.
It's pretty fun. It is a like.
It looks like a game I would be very into. Yeah,
because like the only like competing against each other is, oh my, you took that thing in the market I totally wanted, that kind of stuff, you know, which is like, that's the friendly competition thing of, it's a group market, someone might take something you want, you know, that's it. other than that, you're just like you're dealing with all the same thing, and you're just trying to hope that your dice rolls are what you need to build what you need to get the right points to complete things. Because the more you develop, the better it is, kind of thing, and the more you complete certain color territories, the better it is too. And there's set bonuses and all these kind of things here that are really cool. An entire shipping thing that kind of exists too. There's a lot of layers to this game, and I like that they have a deluxe version of it here that looks really neat. It's expensive, but it also has this really cool everybody gets a little castle thing in the middle, and the pieces look, and the money looks really it's actually I think either, I don't know if it still might be cardboard or some material, but it looks like it's it might be plastic and just high quality. Or actual metal.
The castle looks plastic.
Yeah.
To me.
The money, it's hard to tell because it could just be the paint job.
Which explains the price for the miniatures version.
Yeah.
Because the one without the miniatures is $10 cheaper.
Yep. Classic pledge, no mergy. And they have a stretch goals thing. Yeah. So.
That would be something I'd be into.
Yeah, I should definitely, again. They've unlocked a bunch of it. They honestly have unlocked a lot. They're well funded. I'll tell you, I understand why.
They are.
They're $1 million.
Yeah.
Is that euros? That's
euro.
1.3
million euro.
Yeah, when they only wanted 50,000.
There are 2,600% funded.
Mm-hmm.
Goal reached in 3 minutes and 39 seconds. I'm not shocked.
This is a game that I played and it was a lot of fun, so I can see it being popular, honestly. So as soon as I saw that, the numbers there, I'm like, yeah, I get that. I get that a lot. And as I said, I like it a lot too. It's the problem for me is I already have a friend that has a physical copy of this game. I should probably tell her. Maybe I'll do that and link it. That she might want to get the spiffier one, depending on how she likes it. Apparently,
it's one of the best board games in the last decade.
I can see people being very popular. I think won a bunch of awards and stuff. It does seem to have won a bunch of awards that they kind of show off here for when it came out. Which it coming out around the 2011-2012 time period makes sense.
Yeah.
So it was award winning for the year it came out by a lot. So it makes sense. And in the Board Game Geek, it's rated number 17 in the world, actually, for popularity. Wow.
That doesn't surprise me.
Jeez. Cool. Let's talk about a interesting setting for 5e. Because I like a good 5e setting. Bloodpunk. A Victorian setting. And a Victorian dark adventure setting for 5e.
Hell yeah. That's Bloodborne.
It is Bloodborne. Someone was like, you know what we could do? Bloodborne for 5e.
Hell yeah, I love Bloodborne. My favorite video game.
I guess it's not actually Bloodborne, but it's
basically Bloodborne.
Well, it's dark Victorian is Bloodborne.
Bloodborne with more blood magic. I love it. How much they want for this? $16 for PDF. That's pretty good.
21 US for the PDF.
23 currency.
That's about I think that's
$30
for
I think that's the British pound, so it'd be $30
for both of the PDFs. They're doing $30 for both the PDFs.
It's maybe one of the few things I actually remember to back.
And you can actually get it for virtual tabletop too at higher level too. For $50 you get a hardcover and the PDF. Yeah.
I love Victorian era settings because it's just my favorite fiction setting because it's all the cool architecture, and horribleness of humanity.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things. Is like, I haven't done a lot, but I know that I think they had, was it? Vampire the Masquerade has a couple different settings, and I think one of them is Victorian.
One of them is a Victorian setting. I'm pretty sure.
Because I know they had Dark Ages and then Victorian in the modern.
Yeah.
Because I think Werewolf has the Wild West. You can be werewolves in the Wild West, which is weird.
It does, which is amusing.
I mean, I'm like, okay, I give you that you're kind of going for that feeling, but it's kind of a weird one, and it's specific to America. But Victorian, I guess, it's mostly Europe, honestly. So Dark Ages is technically mostly Europe, but you could be other places in the world. But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's its own setting. A couple of cities, weird blood magic. It's for 5e, so it's like, a very basic system, but you're adding stuff on top of it.
It's got subclasses. It's got new race. It's got a bunch of items. Huge bunch of weird monsters.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And all who back the book PDF pledge level or above will get the Bloodpunk Light Edition, which includes all 50 creatures on maps on Roll20 for free.
Ooh, nice.
So that is the book
very
PDF one is just the $16 one for one of the books. So if you do that one, or you do the 16 whatever it is, the $21 US, or the 30, if you just do the 30 and get both PDFs, you'll still get that one. So you don't have the full virtual tabletop stuff, but you at least have you at least have some of this stuff up on your Roll20, which is cool.
Yeah.
And it includes a 1st to 7th level adventure with it too, in their setting, which always good to have a adventure.
We will see if I remember to actually back something for once.
I mean, I've thrown this link out. I can always throw this link out into Discussing Tabletop to maybe remind people.
Save this in bookmarks.
Mm-hmm. There's apparently bloodwork weapons and angst weapons.
Hell yeah, angst.
Because they've got, they're showing off guns here that use, blood to sniper people or blunderbuss people.
That's just cool. And it also disgusting.
He's, using blood weapons. Yep.
I will just run Bloodborne with this.
You just run Bloodborne. It just would be Bloodborne.
If the Dark Souls tabletop RPG wasn't bad, I would just use it to run Bloodborne, but it's not good.
But you can use some inspiration from it to add a little bit more actual Bloodborne to your stuff. Definitely.
I always will throw some form of Bloodborne into my games, provided they are Renaissance or medieval era games.
And they unlocked up to their, it looks like, they have an OS original soundtrack that they've expanded 10 tracks that they're going to provide with it.
It's always a weird one to me.
Some music that you can enjoy with it.
It's it's good mood music, and it's also good marketing to release music with your thing.
Yeah. What's it, 130? It's hard because you have to figure out. Oh no, they put that in US dollars though. Okay. They still have the. Look, I would be happy.
I write up a novella if they get more. Holy shit.
I mean, they've got 18 days to go. They're probably going to get a bunch more, honestly. They might get up to that one where they expand the adventure up to 11th level, which would be pretty cool. Because that's kind of the unfortunate thing. 11th level is kind of the top tier for 5th edition a lot of times.
11th, I will never run a game past level 10 because I don't want to deal with 5th edition beyond that point.
Well, if you have an adventure that's written from 1 to 11, you have something that takes you to that.
Things that have prepped for me, so I don't have to figure out, will this just kill everyone? Or will this be way too easy that there's no point?
At some point, I might have to run the Dungeon of the Mad Mage. I've got that. I've had that book for a long time. I got the physical book somewhere.
Isn't that shit a fucking level 20 adventure?
It takes you level 20.
My god.
It's
Oh,
it's an epic dungeon, but the thing is, I don't know if it's as well done as Pathfinder epic dungeons ever were.
I don't think it would be.
Because again, like, the epic dungeons in Pathfinder are, there's an adventure path and the Emerald Spire. And I have to say, I enjoyed the Emerald Spire. It had a few issues, but it wasn't nearly that bad. I looked at it and I'm like, I don't know if they can do one as good as the Emerald Spire, honestly. Emerald Spire took me to 18th level.
It's such a hard sell when someone is like, I want to run this adventure and I want you to play it. By the way, it goes to level 20. I'm like, do I want to commit that much time?
You level up a lot, that's the thing.
I've been in exactly one level 20 5th edition game and it was a lot.
I just assume you level up a lot. I haven't looked at it.
I would hope so.
Epic Dungeons is usually very combat heavy, and I think that's the thing.
Like, I mean, I've done Wrath of the Righteous in its fullness. I know long games.
So, that's it for that, and I forgot to add in our deeper discussion because we did kind of come up with the.
Oh yeah, we have one of those
here
today.
We did have a topic today. So let me put this in quickly, and then put out the docket, and let's move on then. Bloodpunk. It's Victorian, which Victorian era stuff is always kind of neat. It's a very unique setting. It was a fun setting. I'd recommend if you like that kind of setting, or just like more different settings for 5th edition, honestly.
I am just happy that people are doing darker settings because I can only use Grim Hollow so much before people are tired of it. I can only beat my players with German fairy tale horror so much.
I can see that. I can unfortunately see that. Only so much German.
I can only deal with German fairy tales so much.
So this is a topic that we kind of hit upon in a previous week, but I wanted to actually dive into it here more than anything, and that's the idea of multiclassing or multi-archetyping. Now, again, I think we talked about this. There it goes. That not all systems necessarily allow for things. There are some systems that are very cut and dry with what you'll play.
Mm-hmm.
There are also systems that really don't have archetypes or builds.
Yeah. I will say, one of the systems that I think does a multi-class well is actually Stars Without Number, because it's its own class. You can pick, I think it's called Adventurer, and you just are both of the other classes put into one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's already pre-balanced to work. Granted, it starts without numbers, so it's not a combat game. It's a meat grinder game. But they did design a system very good for being what would be a multi-class.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, it's the idea that you're taking up multiple roles. I think we can easily kind of, break this down into a lot of different games. Let's take something let's take World of Darkness to start out with, to talk about, a multi-archetyping. You're always going to be one clan. It's going to give you a certain number of disciplines. But those vampiric powers, maybe they're set to your bloodline. You can learn any of the other ones. Granted, there should be story reasons that you learned one. Maybe you take a background that you have a good friend who would have taught you this clan's special ability. But any vampire can pretty much learn any ability, with a few exceptions. It's more difficult to learn the other vampire's powers, aka costs you more experience points. But you can. There is a stigma for, going back to, Legacies of Kain. One of our people had shadow powers. There's a stigma from its clan that they don't teach other people. But there are circumstances that could have occurred that if, you rescued one or something like that, and earn the right from them to learn it, you could be another clan and learn shadow magnets, shadow powers, or something like that. It's cultural more than actual you can't take it kind of things. And again, like Umber's character's blood, very easy. Didn't cost him a lot of experience points. It's nearly twice the amount to learn a non-clan one, I'm going to say, like there. It's a lot more expensive. But you can. Shadowrun. They have archetypes in Shadowrun. Guess what? It doesn't really fucking matter. You could like, because you can take a little bit of cyberware, you could be a mage that took just enough cyberware to get rid of, like, one essence, so you're not really hurt too much, and use that to take, I don't know, all the hacking shit. So now you're a mage hacker, where you could be like, you could do shit like that, where you could be like, I'm the mage and the hacker of the group. Congratulations. I'm double dutying it. You can make that build.
Yeah.
And it works. You could be a street samurai and take a bunch of, like, be highly charismatic and take a bunch of be the face character, too. So you negotiate, like, all the jobs. You're the big, tough person that does that. But you also negotiate. You can build into these things. I mean, like, there's systems like Besom where the new edition has added in archetypes and templates you can play. You don't have to play any of them.
No, you can make your own shit.
Yeah. But you can play them. These are the very more open-ended things. I think a system... I'd have to think of a system that has, like, a very set, you're this class and nothing else. Probably the one that comes to mind the most is, like, first edition D&D. That was the one where you were what you were and nothing else. But it was built for that in the system. Second edition on included multiclassing of some kind. Second edition, it was either multiclassing or dual classing, and they suffered, like, if you were a human, you multiclassed. If you were a non-human, you dual classed, which was kind of weird. And they had different rules for those. And it was usually just experience penalties. It was more experience to level and stuff. But honestly, the thing about second edition is you could have characters completely different levels in your group because everybody learned the set amount of experience to level was different per class.
Yeah. It was a little weird. And some classes had, like, really weird requirements.
Yes.
Like Druid, where only one Druid of X level could at some point exist in the world, and you'd have to go and, like, murder them. You just have to go have a Druid fight.
I just ignored that. Honestly, I would just ignore that.
That's just a thing you have to do.
It was story-wise. Yes,
it's
it was
so
stupid.
dumb.
It's so stupid. Third edition, pretty decent multi-classing, same with 3.5. Pathfinder's pretty easy. You just are just like, well, I'm this class now.
Yeah.
Fourth edition wasn't bad. You take some feats, which allow you just to take, honestly, abilities from the other class. That's it. I mean, like, you don't get some of the base abilities of the class, but honestly, because 4th edition is very, like, power-centric, the powers you have, it makes sense that you just multi-class into those powers. So we're like, I will take this sorcerer ability and have more sorcerer powers. Neat! That's it. I haven't tested Pathfinder 2nd edition multi-classing yet. I have to learn more about that. And 5th edition spell multi-classing sucks balls.
Yeah, it's not great. It's like real bad.
Mm-hmm. Because things that should be tied to just your level overall are tied to your class level. Like, I don't know, ability score-ups, multi-attack, things like that.
Yeah.
So, you heavily suffer from multi-classing in 5th edition. I will dive into it more later. I think on its own thing of, like, why it is. But it's just, let me tell you, it's the worst multi-classing.
It would take a lot to dissect its problems.
So you can see there's a lot of different ways that multi-classing exists, but or multi-archetyping, I could call it. But the question kind of is, why? Why?
I think one of the big reasons for doing this is character development and story, right? Something could happen to your character. We'll use, I can't think of any examples off the top of my head that are 5th edition currently.
Carry.
But Carrion, things happened to Carrion. They became a wizard, which is questionable, but cool. My character in a game who was weird and one of the most fun fucking characters I played because she was fucking weirdo. Viren / Roland, it's a whole mess. I'm not gonna get into that portion of it because we'd be here a while. I was a cleric monk multi-class, which shouldn't work, but it weirdly worked pretty well. And that was entirely because things happened to her that pushed her as a character into a certain direction.
I'm not saying that some 5th edition things don't work. It's like in every system, multiclassing or market archetyping, some work better than others.
Yes.
Like, I'll use Shadowrun again, where you can pretty much be anything. The idea of a street samurai is a character that has a lot of cyberware, make himself like a basically all-around combat buff.
Yeah.
Doesn't really work with mage.
No.
Because cyberware detracts from magical ability. So you can have a tiny bit and not worry about it. But a lot, you do. So they don't inherently work together. You know? You could still do it, but you're suffering yourself from it.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, if you were to do it, you'd basically have honestly, maybe you could be an adept or something. Adepts are basically use spellcasting to they're like ninjas or like monks in 5th edition or other editions or something like that. So you basically you use your magic rather than casting spells, you use it internally enhance your body. So I can see you mixing that with some cyberware more or less. It's still difficult to pull off, but you could build that character. But building that is going to be more character than it is going to be practical. Which sometimes you want to do, and it's not a bad idea to do. It's like there's certain class combinations, even something like Pathfinder. I could play a multi-class of 2 different classes together that have no right being together in classes,
No,
you know.
Yeah, but sometimes it can work, and it can make a cool character. Another reason for multiclassing, and this is more pertains to Pathfinder and older editions of D&D, prestige class you want to go for.
It's prestige classes were builds that were very interesting that involved a multi-class. It's kind of like it's an additional specialized class that you could be that's it doesn't feel like one or the other. Now they have generic them in 5th edition, a bunch of them, like Arcane Archer, Eldritch Knight. They were their own things. They're now part of Fighter.
They're a subclass. I have experience with this. I was in Carrion Crown going to build for Nature's Warden. However, I did the classes in the wrong order. I should have done Druid first and then gone into Ranger. And that was me not remembering Pathfinder very well, because that was my first game in years.
Honestly, that's the thing is, when you get first game in years, it definitely can't be that.
It was a lot of rust that I had to shake off.
Nat was building into a prestige class.
Nat was building into... I think you were building into Eldritch Knight Lighting, right? I think that was... Yeah, that's Eldritch Warrior. That's what Nat was going for. Which is cool as hell, and I love Nat's character, but sadly, the campaign just didn't allow for it
very easily.
That's kind of the problem with Adventure Paths. Some things don't allow for it.
And honestly, that can happen in pre-made stuff. You know, you can have an adventure where whatever build you're going for just doesn't work very well.
Yeah.
And this is beyond your character you're playing. We're talking about just the basic...
This is you just want to go for this thing.
This is the mechanical build of your character and how they work and interact with the universe. That's the kind we're talking about now. Like, character-wise, you certainly could make it that your character fits in this world. Carrying crown. I'm a pirate character on a pirate adventure. Great. My build is so weird and not piratey. You could do it.
I like that you said carrying crown. The famous pirate.
Fine, Skulls and Shackles. We're Buccaneers of Shackles Sea, which is the title I have for the game I'm running, but it is Skulls and Shackles, the adventure path. There are, like, honestly, like, other builds, which are, like, from older editions that I've used, that are, like, prestige classes, which are really cool. You can't put them into 5th edition.
No.
The Fuklukian Lyrist is this weird combination of bard, rogue, druid.
Yeah, that can't work in 5th edition fundamentally.
It's so interesting of a build, though, but it can't. It just doesn't really work. But I would love to have had Blaze on, because he played one of these. It was really fun to play. It was really neat. Honestly, I played a Scarlet Corsair. Granted, you could probably put that under Rogue, but it's like a Rogue fighter build. So it doesn't fit very well. Kind of like Arcane Archer kind of sucks in 5th edition, because it doesn't fit very well. Because they squeezed it into, like, a setting that it doesn't really fit. We fought Ghost Bandits and a Dragon. Which adventure was it? Ghost Bandits and a Dragon? Am I forgetting one? It was that wasn't Carrion Crown.
Ghost Bandits.
Oh, the pirate in a non-water, non-pirate adventure. Oh,
that guy.
He just built a pirate. Well, that was more, I feel, more character-wise than build-wise.
Yeah.
That was the thing. That's a different issue entirely, is building a character that doesn't fit with your game. I think we've talked about that before.
Yeah. Something like, if in the next Pathfinder thing I'm in, something I actually do want to try to build for in a prestige classes, I kind of want to try to build for a Grey Warden. Because that's one that actually looks like really cool to me. But it's like kind of weird because you have to have ranks in very, very different things.
Well, I will tell you, I will tell people out here, Pathfinder and definitely like a lot of other editions, they're built in such a way, like 4th edition Pathfinder, they're built in such a way that technically discourages multiclassing. You don't get a lot out of it. You get some, but it's sort of like, it's hard to multi-class in 4th edition because everything is based upon, for your class, this ability score. So, like, if you're a wisdom-based one, you're probably not going to have a lot of other high ability scores. It's going to be hard to multi-class as something because you don't. Maybe you have one that's, like, I multi-classed as a sorcerer when I was a warlock. I was intelligence-based warlock, but I had a high enough charisma, because sorcerers are charisma-based, that it was only like -1 to all my attacks and stuff if I was using sorcerer abilities. And the secondary effects of them were good enough for me to actually say, like, I could do this. But that's because I was ready for that kind of thing. It's sort of like, you have to be able to do it. And I think Pathfinder doesn't have restriction like that, but it has other restrictions. A lot of classes have capstone abilities. Really great final level abilities that, granted, not getting a 20th level, who fucking cares,
Yeah.
But if your campaign is maybe going to 20th level, then yeah, you're sacrificing that. I have been in campaigns in Pathfinder that have gotten to 20th level, that you get those top tier abilities. You have to consider that.
Yeah. In a lot of adventure passers, specifically Pathfinder, they typically don't go beyond 15.
Yeah.
You're usually fine to multi-class in those.
That's
depending on what you want to.
Yeah, that's more questioning what abilities you get for being 15th of just one class, and what abilities you get for multi-classing or prestige classing. What do you want?
Because you have to like kind of plan it out.
Yeah.
To be efficient and effective.
That is the thing that I just have to say about Pathfinder. You don't have to do a full plan out. I've done it before. I've done full plan outs before. I haven't done it before. You at least have to have an idea of what you want to do in the future.
Yeah.
be aware of where your character is going to end up in the end. And that's actually a good thing for any character you're playing, especially if you do want to multi-class. Understand where you want to end up in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you maybe just ask, like, what kind of level are we thinking of? Yeah, you plan most of Mad out from 1 to 15, because those are the class levels in there. Like, if you're playing a 5th edition game, like, what kind of level are we aiming to get to here? You know, ask your DM. You know, just figure out kind of like, what are you feeling like? You know, it's like, well, ideally I'd like to get to this level, and maybe you won't get to that level depending on what happens in the game.
Yeah.
But if you have an idea where you want to get to, open-ended things like some World of Darkness games, Shadowrun, you don't have to worry about that as much because honestly, your starting build is most of that. You know, like there are certain things like for Vampire getting new disciplines. That's in game. You could be like do character stuff and like make friends and allies that may teach you some shit. You know, that could happen, and you know that you get some other disciplines and other powers that way. Things like Besom, honestly, if you have a theme of certain powers or something, and you're like, this power fits along my theme, or like, this thing happened to our characters, can I take this power now? You could do that. And Shadowrun is just, honestly, as if you're a spellcaster, you have to start as a spellcaster. If not, you can build anything else. As long as you're starting as a spellcaster, you can build anything. You're not starting as a spellcaster, throw the magic shit out of the or I'm sorry, just a magic user. Throw the magic stuff out the window, and you can build into anything.
Yeah.
You could be like the non-face character face, and by the end of the game, turn yourself into the fucking face character if you want. You know? That's the way that system works, at least. So. I like it because it's variety. I think that's the big thing we have to say about this entire idea of archetyping, multi-classing kind of thing. It adds more levels to just, I'm a fighter, I'm a rogue. And we were talking about that issue when we were talking 5th edition earlier. That issue can come up in a lot of games, actually. Yeah.
It can get boring to play the same class for a long time.
Yes.
Sometimes you want to spice it up a little bit.
Pathfinder did a lot by adding archetypes, you know. They did. And 2nd edition does a good job of, like, it's going to take time, but basically every time they add an archetype, they just add a bunch of different feats at different levels that you could take for that archetype. And honestly then, and the thing is, some of them require other feats to take, you know, but you could take them or not, or, like, take one of them or something, like... I think that 2nd edition is pretty good for this kind of thing because, like, when you're a bard, you could be a very different bard than someone else's bard because it's a lot different the feats you take.
Yeah. Like, I'll even use Misty as an example. She's not changed that much from a typical Inquisitor, but she is very different than most Inquisitors are going to end up to be because I am a specific build for pistols and shutting down spellcasters.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas most Inquisitors are melee and buff.
Mm-hmm. It's a matter of where you build your character into.
Yep. Yeah, I could take my Inquisitor into a prestige class, but I've not found one I want to yet. Or one that fits Skulls and Shackles as a thing.
I haven't looked at your Witch class, Lightning, so I'm going to assume it's cool as hell and just go along with it.
It may accidentally be the most powerful arcane caster in 5e.
I mean, that doesn't take a lot.
It's not even that strong.
It doesn't take a lot. We've talked about how bad arcane casters are.
It's not even that strong, but it may accidentally be the strongest arcane caster.
Bards aren't supposed to be powerful, so I understand that.
Bards are supposed to be mostly okay at everything.
Yeah. So it's sort of like, if you're... And Bards being the best arcane caster in 5th edition. It doesn't take a lot. It does not take a lot at all. I think it's kind of... It settles down to that entire thing of, like, everybody, when you're playing an RPG, when you're building your character, you have an imagination of where your character comes from. Like, and how you build your character varies. Like, you could be like, this class is cool, and build a character off of it. Or this combination of classes, or these abilities are cool. Or you could be like, this is an idea I have, how do I build this mechanically, you know? Either direction's fine. we've talked about building your character before, and where your character's coming from, the imagination of it. But the idea of having that malleability in a system that allows you to take a lot of these different directions and combine them together is what makes good systems, I think. That I can be like, I can be my spellcasting hacker in Shadowrun, or I can be my I forgot almost about Dawn, who learned chemistry because she was adopted by Ravnos. She was adopted by gypsy people. They're not all gypsies, but gypsies do make up part of them, so that is not just a typical Ravnos. Look, they kind of were a racial stereotype. They did expand upon them a lot. Yeah. They're now both from India and gypsies. Don't ask me that. They're two groups now, just not one. Does that make it better? I don't know. But they're basically gypsies. Anyway, they have illusion powers. She was raised by a bunch of them when she was abandoned by her sire after being created. She knows their ability because they taught her. She's not their clan. But that was part of her storyline, and it was a cool storyline. It was an interesting reason to have it. You know? You can do shit like that. That you can have these weird, interesting powers, and builds, and setups, and, like, things like that. And honestly, like, you know, Nat, I really liked Nat's build. It didn't work as well as in the setting of the pirate world, you know, but I liked Nat's build. It was cool. The gunslinger wizard, cool. That was neat.
But the game sadly didn't allow for it.
It didn't work very well. Like, Nat works very well as an NPC, unfortunately. It's just that sad thing of, like...
That would be cool in, like, a lot of other adventure paths.
Oh, yeah. No. It's sort of like, just remove the building feats from Nat and just replace them with other stuff and it would be fine, you know?
Yeah.
I think the building feats were just taken, honestly, the crafting feats, just because you're in a setting that crafting is really easy on. You're on a boat for long periods of time. Crafting is easy. Not perfect, but it does, you know, you can do it over a long...
it's easier to craft in it, because we do have a lot of travel time.
Some adventure paths, time doesn't travel very much. Skulls and Shackles, years go by.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's a difference.
God, I have to be with fucking Yakul on a boat for years. I don't know how I'm gonna fucking handle that, dude.
Look, he's getting better.
He's so angry now.
He's so she took a level barbarian and got angry.
Just shoot Yakul.
He got anger issues.
Calm him down.
Mm-hmm. You need to get like Galarian's first.
You need a therapist. On this.
I think there probably are therapists. Honestly, you just have to find them.
Yakul has no right to be alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
You used your one resurrection thing on the man.
We did.
You're not quite at the level that anyone knows Breath of Life either. You're very close to it, though.
Yeah.
Honestly, part of me was like, oh my god, I forgot these sharks do bajillion damage.
They're sharks. It's fine. They died.
I know, but like one of like the animal companion did like plus 17 damage. I'm like, oh. Or like the cannon dude who does ×4. I'm like, oh god, that's a lot of damage.
You know, one shot me.
And that
permadeath.
It just explodes the body, you know, when it hits you with the cannon.
Yep.
Well, that was one of those things is in the original Adventure Path, that was just a ballista, which is ×2 damage. But they're like, if you want to have more guns, more prevalent, here's a place you can have it. Give it a cannon!
When I got shot with that cannon, and then fireball, I opened the PFSRD and started looking at classes. So I'm like, I'm just gonna die. I would have played, because this character will never happen, I was just gonna play Divine Marksman.
Yeah. That was the big thing. It's like, that thing was pretty... You did some good damage to it, so it was pretty close to death. So
did a lot of damage.
Like, and honestly, yes, it has no intelligence. It's going to attack the closest thing to it. And there was only one person up next to it, so going to attack that. It's not intelligent. And then after that, so like, yeah, they distracted it for you. That's good. And then he didn't really have many other aerial effect spells. He had like more just a lot of like things like.
Just a dick.
He had Scorching Rays. He hit Yakul really well with one set of them. He had one more and a bunch of magic missiles.
Well, he's dead now, so
he did die pretty horribly.
He's horribly executed.
Yeah. So. It certainly is fine just to be just a basic.
Yeah.
I'd say just the idea of the basic bitch anything. You know, basic bitch fighter, basic bitch rogue. It's fine.
The basic bitch human fighter. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. You can make a fun character with that because you can add in the actual character side of that to make it unique or different, and it's fine.
So when you want to get a little spicy and make a dude who throws shoes, then you got to start looking at archetypes and multiclassing.
Sneakers, I'll miss you. I always miss sneakers. I just remember when they've spent money and I think Sneakers bought an adamantine shoe.
Hell yeah, that's so stupid. I love it.
I'm just like, I want to buy an adamantine. I'm like, you know what? Sure.
Someone will make it if you give them enough money.
They just bought an adamantine because they're like, you can throw other things than shoes. And they look down at the shoe and are just like, can I? Oh, see, that was just such a silly build, but it was also like worked, and I can't even remember why the character did that. They actually had like a weird reason character-wise as to why. So no one, like, if anybody questioned them, they would answer that, and they're like, okay, that's kind of weird, but okay. You know, they actually did the time to do that. But I have no idea what the fuck it was, honestly. I just remember they threw shoes as improvised weapons and snuck attack people. Because there's a whole bunch of improvised weapon and sneak attack feats.
It's the perfect character.
So it's just like all of a sudden, shoe out of nowhere, and it does like, you know, 66. It does fireball damage to someone, you know? Just fireball someone with a shoe. It's just so silly. Anyway, yeah. You can do stuff like that, honestly.
You can get weird in a lot of systems.
Mm-hmm. I once tried to build a character that was effectively, what's her name? May from Guilty Gear. So the pirate lady with a giant anchor.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I actually figured out a way to build that, I think in 3.5, that I could have just an oversized weapon as a tiny person. As a tiny, just like... It was a silly build, but I did it once. I was playing a lot of Guilty Gear at the time. Not against anybody because it was just computers, but I think I played against Blaze because that was maybe on PS3 era. He was the only one I played with online because he's the only other person that had games like that. I remember having cell phones open and chatting a lot with Blaze and playing video games.
The old days.
Just having them plugged in and open. That's the way we used to do it. There was no heads. Those headsets never worked right.
Kids are spoiled now.
PS3 headsets sucked balls.
The Xbox one was no better.
Mm-hmm. So you had your phone open on speakerphone, chatting with someone for hours, plugged in so it wouldn't die. And it was Nintendo, a flip phone.
If you get, a Nintendo Switch, you can still do that. Because the Nintendo Switch doesn't have a microphone. You have to call your friend or use Discord. Because Nintendo lives 20 years in the past.
They do. As repeatedly proven by their online setup. It's bad. And I even haven't dealt with it since the Wii. And I still know it's bad.
Switch multiplayer is actually terrible. It's so bad.
I've seen some people try to play like one of the Mario games, and the lag on it was so bad. We're talking streamers who have really good internet.
Mario Kart, bullshit lag. It's worse than Smash Bros.
I've seen the lag on that one too. Online gaming, the fun of it. So, yeah, that's multiclassing. We
Yeah.
will deep dive more into 5th edition in the upcoming week at some point soon, probably, hopefully, kind of combine these together. But it's just the worst multiclassing I've ever seen that has an option of it.
It's so terrible.
Because the thing is, there's a difference between not having an option, having an option. When you have an option, you want it to actually work. It just feels patronizing.
Yeah.
More than anything. And no, yes, again, certain options are better than others, but, you know. I'm going to have to look into... I keep forgetting to... I'm going to look at multiclassing for Pathfinder 2nd Edition one of these days.
I know you can do it kind of in Cyberpunk Red. I've not read enough of that book to know how.
Yeah.
I do have that book somewhere, and I do intend on playing it eventually.
There's plenty of ones that I plan on... I'd love to try out. I mean, again, a lot of them are just... I feel like most class systems, at least, have things. Oh, wait. I'm sorry, that multiple.
I think Cyberpunk Red is supposed to be like a much easier system, because original Cyberpunk is kind of a pain in the ass to build a character for.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I think you get a multi-class archetype, and it gives you some things, and I'd have to look into the way it fully works. But it looks like you take feats to get the multi-classing abilities rather than anything.
Yeah.
It gives you access to stuff. Okay, so it's like, okay, see here. So, okay, so second level, you can take the multi-class dedication bard feat. You gain spell... You cast spells like a bard and gain the cast spell activity. So it gives you some, like, cantrips and occult spells and stuff like that. So it does give you stuff, but you have to take feats for that. And you can get more than one multi-class, but you have to at least have 3 feats in a multi-class before you can take another. Oh, that's interesting. Cool. Okay. Yeah, because some of these are like, I gain a 1st or 2nd level bard feat. You know, something like that. So it's basically because, like, it's all about feats. It's just that you choose a dedication to a multi-class. As long as you qualify for it, and you just take feats for that. And you gain the abilities based on that class. Actually, that's not bad, honestly. It's pretty simple. It's probably a lot less... honestly, because, like, a lot of... 2nd edition, all your stuff is based on your total level anyway. So
yeah.
It doesn't really make a difference. And honestly, actually pretty good, because it means that, like, even when you're, like, gaining stuff from, like, let's say if you're multi-class bard, you're still getting stuff from your base class, too. Oh, cool. You know, it's interesting. The M5E feats are optional, but not really. Pathfinder 2nd edition, oops, all feats. It really is.
Like the amount of feats that are in Pathfinder. Let's make it weird with it.
The 2nd edition one is even weirder because, like, at least they've divided them up into different categories that, like, at different levels you take from the different categories. But it is oops all feats. So it's like, oh, I need a, you know, a skill feat. I need a ancestry feat. I need a class feat, you know?
I will still one day play the champion I built that is solely just built around the demoralized mechanic.
Is that 2nd edition?
That's 2nd edition, yeah.
I should definitely pick up one of the adventures. I did that, like, prequel adventure, but it went in weird places and was, like,
it got real weird. Partially my fault.
It was taking over, and that's why I just, like, I kind of put it down, never came back, because I didn't want to spend I would have had to spend time on it, because it became from, like, a small thing to a big thing, unfortunately. I was going to roll you right into the actual adventure.
Look.
But you guys, went left field. And I was like, crap.
It got weird.
Yeah.
Poor Cell.
Yeah.
I think it was Cell.
Might have been.
I think it was, definitely Cell, who got put in the bag by the wrong people.
Oh, yeah!
Got put in the bag by unrelated people.
Was attempting to kidnap him. Yeah, there's some kidnapping things going on.
And, Lightning's character wanted to marry a kobold, but, he couldn't because Kib was already married to crime fighting.
That was right. I'm married to the law. Sorry.
I did just make Kobold Batman.
You did make Kobold Batman. Players end up never doing what you want. But there's a difference between players ending up never doing what you want and players going a full 360. Or 180, I mean. It's like Carrying Crown, at least they're generally in the direction of where I want them to go. They don't go, hey, we're adventuring in Urborg. You know what? We're done with Urborg. We're gonna go to, I don't know, Zephyr.
Throws dart at map.
Yeah, just throws dart at map and goes there and stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't know what the fuck to do with that place.
Why in Star Wars, at the end of the session, I always ask, hey, where are you guys going next session? So I can actually play it.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. It's different than, I just don't remember what happened, but you guys just went this, incredibly weird direction that was, completely off from where I wanted.
I remember it got weird.
Yeah. I think because you were, you had really weird ideas for whatever investigation it was, so you kept running into other stuff, and I'm like, none of this will work for this investigation. These are really terrible ideas. But I wasn't going to say it. It was kind of half hilarious you kept doing them. You're like, I'm going to stake out this place, and I'm like, that's not really related to this at all.
May have been a cop, but he was not smart.
No.
Unfortunately, no one else in the party was smart enough to tell him no.
No. It was shenanigans. Shenanigans the game. But, yeah. Maybe getting back to some of those characters after this adventure. Just that adventure happened. And we just say that.
You did play a dumb himbo. Sometimes you gotta play a himbo.
Sometimes you just gotta be a big old himbo and have himbo adventures.
You just gotta be head empty.
I mean, I've certainly played them before too. It's been a while. I just will remember the joke because what was it? It was 4th edition. My first time playing it. I was a fighter, and we were fighting a rat swarm. And rat swarms do ongoing damage. Mm-hmm. They attack you, and then they keep doing damage after that, even if they leave you. And we're like, what? How does that do that? And I'm like, rats must cling to you, and you have to make a strength check to get them off. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm big and strong. I just flex my muscles, and the rats explode off of my body.
You know what? Hey, it worked.
And oh god, I was trying to seduce our cleric character because I was a himbo, and she was like, oh god, the only person that gets up in her chapel is her deity.
A little weird.
That was the statement she gave to me.
A little weird.
There was more than that, but it got really weirder, I will tell you. But that was the entire idea of it, is you're a little too dedicated to your deity then. Mm-hmm. Anyway, shall we move on though?
Yeah.
Our week in gaming.
We've had weeks in gaming.
Yeah. I don't think we do any of us do anything on Saturdays, Sundays, Mondays.
I don't.
Oh wait, no, we did do something. We had something on a Sunday now.
Oh, we did do something on a Sunday, right? I do things on Sunday.
I have to remember it's 7, not 8.
I put a reminder in chat.
It didn't pop up for me. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they get lost in the memes.
It happens. I run a cyberpunk game, not the because they named their fucking system after an entire goddamn genre.
Mm-hmm.
I run a genre cyberpunk game using 5th edition D&D in a custom setting I have made where everyone is they're not really cops. You're like federal agents, more or less. You hunt mages, deal with magic, crime. It's got one hell of a cursed party. You got old man horny snake woman, bright-eyed human man who wants to be there, and then a gamer.
Yeah, I'm the bright-eyed human with my name, Genric Hammond.
The best boy of the team.
I'm just a generic human who happened to have been raised by halflings, because family. And Uncle Don got in some street races to get me into the position. And I don't know about that, though. That's the joke.
God, I have plans for that way down the line. Yeah, you went and did some police training to see how well you work together. Mostly because I wanted to use the session to see how much damage guns and shit do. It's hard to tell when people are level 1, but I think it's fine. I think it's fine. But it's hard to tell when everyone's level 1 and no one has above like 11 HP. So we'll see. You did that, and then you went and investigated a murder. And you found a magic safe and a charred body and a weird little person in an alleyway, and then that was it. The weird person in an alleyway teleported. They got down by baseball bats, though, and magic missile, which weren't guns. So that's why it's hard for me to tell, because the guns actually didn't down anyone.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's just the fact that people are level 1, and I don't run at level 1 that often.
Yeah, level 1's hard.
I start games at level 2, typically.
It's one of those things, is like, certainly, if I hadn't been running, like, even Pathfinder, the Skull Shackles, if I hadn't been running the actual, like, adventure path or version of it, I wouldn't have started at level 1.
Yeah, I typically start people at level 2 because it lets people start as a multi-class if they want to, and the way I do multi-classing fixes the issues of 5th edition multi-classing.
Yes. You homebrewed a fix for it, which is
I did.
Great, but also
but it's homebrew.
Shouldn't have been needed.
I shouldn't have had to.
No. Yeah, no, I found it fun. I like my character. Like,
I love everyone's character.
I will be happy when Halfling Vin Diesel shows up and says something about family and needing to join a street race.
He says family and then he just leaves.
And then I'm just like, family, and go with him, you know, or something.
It's like, yeah, that was the thing. You met some colorful NPCs, 2 lizard people, one who's the best boy lizard, because his art is like, just a happy boy. Yeah, that game's it's going to be a short one. It's mostly for me to test out my narrative setting to see if it is up to snuff, because I did spend quite a lot of time making it.
No, so far I enjoy it. It seems to work for a kind of general futuristic cyberpunk setting.
A bit of a generic system, setting.
Well, I'm sure you have more details in the world.
There's more details in the world, but it's like the players wouldn't know that yet.
Yeah, we haven't.
You'll learn them eventually.
Yeah, you know, it's sort of like if you've never played in Faerun, Faerun's just a fantasy setting. If you've played in Faerun a lot, you know about shit like, oh, there's Baldur's Gate and all those other cities. I'm blanking out because my brain just isn't working today.
Neverwinter.
There's the third one.
The one that...
Waterdeep.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, those are the 3 main city-states. Because they are city-states also, which no one ever talks about.
Yeah, they're not countries. Luskin's in Icewind Dale, I think.
Is that one of the city-states? No one cares about Luskin.
Tent, that's also Icewind
Daggerfall.
Dale. Daggerfall, that's both the Elder Scrolls game and a town in D&D.
Yeah, I know. That's why I remember it. I'm like, it's that one that
it's
also...
It's like that weird elf one.
Yeah. Red Wizard, that's Thay. That's Thay.
Yeah, that's Thay.
Well, that's why, like, you know, when I was doing Records of Evil, I was like, the Sword Coast is just divided. They're actually just, like, small countries. They're actual, like things like Luxembourg or something. So they have one main city and a bunch of territory around them nowadays.
Yeah, Kalimport is the city, I think.
It's actually, but it's the capital of Kalimshan. which is really nice. But most of Kalansham is desert, which sucks.
Yeah. It is awful desert land.
Yeah, which, it's one of those things. Though that doesn't mean we can't have a Battle of 5 Armies, which I had at Kalimport in one game, where an army of the undead, an army of mercenaries and Thane wizards, an army, it was 4 armies, an army of Sahuagin with a giant siege crab, I think 2 or 3 of them, and then an army of Yanti.
Nice.
All descended upon us, because we managed to piss off all of them. Well, the Thanes, we got into a fight because we met a Thane red wizard once, and our one character did a critical hit but didn't drop her, so the joke was he broke her nose because he was using a hammer. So it was the Thane lady with the crooked nose. Yeah. And the Auntie, we wanted to get something from them. So, yeah, we did. And the Army of I forget what the Army of Undead was after us. I just remember that our...
I pissed off a necromancer.
Probably. I just remember our fighter, because our fighter was a 3rd edition fighter, just could cleave through everything. So he was just walking through the cloud, cleaving through the army. Just like,
nice.
do. And then, didn't die to a Banshee because... they failed the save, but we gave them a buy just a little bit, and we're just like, well, they wear a helmet usually, and we just gave them a bonus of like the helmet bonus to not die instantly, like you're wearing a helmet that mutes out the sound. So
nice.
Horrible sound effects, and we turned the I think also like what was it? Our halfling spy, which we didn't know about at the time, was being catapulted back to us by the Thane and their mercenaries. And I'm like, quick, wizards we have, fireball that blast, block it. So there's a screaming fireball that we just fireballed out of the sky, a flaming rock, which we didn't happen to know there was a halfling spy on it. But I detonated the shit out of that man.
Oh, no.
His flaming corpse was found later on. Because, look, I didn't know he was there. And I think we also turned one of those giant crabs to stone. I forget how the fuck we did it. It was a pretty epic and fun battle, but like, so you can have giant army stuff like that. I think all of our characters were at different battles and stuff too. Anyway, that's distraction there. Tuesday. Star Wars.
We had Star Wars. You learned some things.
We learned some important stuff.
You learned some important things. Villain evil. Villain shouldn't be left alone.
Yeah, but now I don't know what to do about villain, because I'm like, I don't have the ability to fight villain.
You made a plan I wasn't expecting, but not a terrible plan.
Yeah.
You're gonna tell the Empire.
I'm gonna tell the Empire. Because
I have plans for that.
We gotta subtly tell them we know that. We can't, like, confess everything. But we were saying, like, there's someone with force powers that wants to threaten the galaxy.
Basically, like, the villain wants to eat planets of the Force.
Yeah.
And, basically, if you've played Old Republic 2, there was someone with a similar plan. But I don't remember their name off the top of my head. Also, it's a very niche reference, because the second Knights of the Old Republic game isn't that good.
But they basically try to genocide the galaxy.
Yeah, they want to wipe the slate clean.
And I'm like, we don't have the power to fight that. Like, if the Jedi Order was around, I would call on the entire Jedi Order to fight it. But I don't have that ability. So the only people that are very powerful I know about are the Empire and the 2 Sith that rule them.
You have, like, 2 groups you could call on. A third one you didn't think about. You could technically call on the Rebels.
I thought about the Rebels. Yeah, the Empire.
The Bounty Hunters. You have allies with a lot of Bounty Hunters.
They probably would support getting rid of this, but they might ask for money, and we're poor.
Also true. Yeah, you have options. And then you went to...
We went to the... I don't remember the
Balmora.
Balmora, yeah.
You went there. You're going to smuggle weapons off-world.
Yeah.
You're looking for artifacts. And there was a third reason you were there, and I don't remember what the third reason was.
Well, originally we were just there to get loot and maybe the artifacts of the Night Sister if we could. But when the Empire was there...
Oh yeah, you were there because you went down to the planet because you wanted to find out why there was Imperial movement at the planet.
And a large amount of it, too, yeah.
Yeah. And you learned that they're actually going up into Dantooine to investigate all of the problems that are going on up there.
Which is basically the evil person that we...
Yeah, there's a big old, the there's a big old, faction war going on.
Yeah. Which, again, we call the Rebels, but this is Empire Strikes Back. The Rebels have taken a huge hit,
yeah.
The problem. So, they are not the best position to deal with things, but we could call on them for maybe...
You could call on the Rebels, you could call on bounty hunters. Empire's always an option.
Well, that's why I think, right now, we're, thinking of what to send to the Empire, but we're also trying to find information.
Because you're trying to get information. You're being smart about it, which I do appreciate. Because, you could be real dumb about it, and then I have to deal with that.
So we're planning on a trip to Fortress Inquisitorius, because we should be able to find... Because she's supposed to have control of the remnants of the Inquisitors, and we could learn more about her and
learn about that stuff. And there's an old Jedi temple you're going to go to. And then I think there's one other planet you want to go to.
Yeah.
I think it's Cell's character's home world or something.
And I did say, we're trying to figure... She's gotten, a Sith artifact that we're thinking is amplifying her power. If we could get rid of that, that would solve the issue,
Yeah, that's why I think you definitely now want to go to the old ancient Jedi temple. Because that might have information there.
Yeah. It's a place that might have more archives,
Yeah.
So it's not going to be easy, but
things are happening now.
Yeah. We did have Wednesday. You dealt with a pirate man, Milksop Morton.
He's dead.
He's dead. He got executed. He was
pretty brutally.
It did seem there was a lot of anger at his shenanigans. Honestly.
We also stole his ship after we killed him.
His ship, so you've got a second ship, not as big as yours, but you were looking into possibly squibbing it and stuff. And
I think we technically have enough money to squib it. However, I think because we were talking post game, we might wait until we have enough money to arm it as well.
Yeah, because you don't have a really lot of room for ships now. That's not until
Yeah, we don't have enough room to put it somewhere yet, so we can't really do anything with it.
That's late fourth adventure when you're theoretically have an island that you have settled, and made your own. You have a port there you can put ships into that work for you.
We're just working a little early. Then we went underwater and fought sharks and a shark man.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that's probably the hardest fight down there, but I also wanted to say, if we do get our new person, I have an idea for getting them in. But, you probably might want to, go to the surface, and we can say rather than using your wand, you could just have Sandra heal you.
Yeah, one of the problems I'm going to face down there is guns don't work underwater.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to be a melee character for a little bit again, which is fine because I do have a weapon that's good against sea creatures.
Yes. It does a lot of extra damage to the criticals.
I haven't swapped out the melee feat, the one melee feat I have, which will be getting swapped out eventually when I have the proper time to do it.
Yeah. I was just going to have you, we were saying you've spent enough time when you level up, which is not... It's relatively close. It's probably going to be a session or two.
Yeah, I'm going to take one of the save feats because I'm building for something.
It's towards the back end of this area of the quest line, that's kind of when you run into leveling up. So that's when you kind of do it. So we'll worry about that kind of there, and then we'll just say that's a good time to do it. But yeah, no, it was a pretty combat-y episode, but it had some good moments.
God, it was hilarious to watch Yakul fail.
Yakul failed so badly.
I feel bad for Eric, but God, it was so funny.
I kept saying, do you want to accelerate climbing? Because it's like it added 5 to the DC. Honestly, he wouldn't have made it even on normal.
He never rolled above 14.
The DC to climb the side of the ship, because there was no ropes or anything, was DC 15. He made it DC 20. He got 14 at highest.
Yeah.
He was like plus 8 or 9 or something. He just couldn't roll it.
He
Wow.
felt so hard that a lot of bad things happened. But then, because gun, I saved the day, more or less, because I just kept blowing things up with a gun.
Yeah. Fortunately, there really was just mainly 2 things to fight in that entire thing. He summoned the crocodiles, but the crocodiles, they're not that difficult.
They mostly got, like, 1 shot.
Yeah, it's just a lot of them, and they have enough hit points to maybe survive, like, 1 Yakul hit, pretty much. I think that's what they exactly had, because and that's only because he has augmented summoning, which I forgot all about putting that into the summons when I set the summons. That's on me. Because, he was a conjurer, and he did his job.
Woo!
And, I could have had shark merfolk, like, dispelling magic from afar on you guys, but, like, honestly, That's one of his strategies, try to drown you guys, like, but I'm like, it's a weird strategy, honestly.
He's dumb shark, man, he's dead now.
Yeah, he turned into a shark and tried to eat you. It's fine.
Yeah.
He didn't have a lot of actual spells that were really threatening other than dispel magic for you guys. He was mostly buff spells he had already cast on him and his shark.
No, we're gonna steal the shark and make soup out of it.
Anyway, so... And we didn't have Thursday because we were down 1 person.
I'm kind of glad, because if we had everyone, there was a chance I would have had to leave after the first break, because I was, like, passing the fuck out.
We might have end at the first break, because it sounded like Carrie or Mads had to go early anyway, so it's sort of like...
I was very unwell.
I ended up playing a little of Tabletop Simulator with Joe that evening.
Nice.
We only got 1 game in, but we got a game of Pirate Flux in.
Ooh.
It took forever because it was hilarious that, like, the people who had extra plays, we didn't want to play it because there was stuff in our hand that we didn't want to play. And we were worried about having, like, too many plays. So it's sort of like I kept holding it off. And so then by the end we had, like, giant hands and, like, we're, like, slowly getting through it. And I ended up winning because I, like, then played a multiple play right at the end there and was like, I can play these cards and win.
Fair.
I drew the cards I need. So we just did the 1 game because it got late. And I was like, oh, God, after, like, a half an hour game of Flux, which is unusual, but can happen. Flux is normally, like, 5 to 10 minutes, honestly, for a game of it. 15 to 20 if you're unlucky. I have heard tales of ones that go on forever because no one ever triggers anything.
Oh no.
I think a friend of mine played Flux with their family and went on for an hour before someone won. That's a forever in Flux. And I don't think there was any other tabletop unless you did anything tabletop related.
I played more Spirit Islands.
Nice.
And then I played some Terraforming Mars with some people.
Okay, cool.
Lost both of those games.
Happens. But yeah, I think that's it for today. It was pretty good topic, pretty interesting stuff coming out tabletop wise. Definitely, like, if you want to look into more Starfinder stuff, you want to try it. I keep recommending, like, the Humble Bundles are great for it. Honestly, it's like $45 and you get, like, hundreds of dollars worth of books, and for charity. So that's a good thing to recommend. Check out the Castle Burgundy on GameFound if you want to do that one, the deluxe edition of it. I mean, I would recommend that board game in general, even if you don't want to do the deluxe version, just get one. And Bloodpunk, and of course, Unearthed Giants are always cool to have. It's the one thing that I do say that Wizards always does pretty good when they remember to do them.
Yeah.
Unearthed Giants. So, I think we're going to pop off. I'm unaware of my schedule for the next few days. I'm going to be honest. Do you have anything to shout out, Momo, before I go into my entire spiel of what's going on?
Nah.
Okay. Tomorrow I'm going to play by ear, but we're having a picnic on Monday, Memorial Day, that my family's running, that we're going to go to. So we're going to help out, like, cooking some stuff, so I might need to help out with I don't know how much I have to help out tomorrow with that, so that's going to kind of lead to my busyness tomorrow for maybe streaming or not. And then Monday, I don't know if I'll do anything, because honestly, if I have to go by like noon or a little bit before then, it might not be worth it to get stream in the morning, and then it's going to be late. So I might just take off on Monday, or maybe play something Monday evening. Maybe I'll organize some things with some people. So if I do, probably Tuesday for Fantasy 6, finishing up a lot of that World of Ruin stuff, getting Go-Go and some of the other places. And I'll finish up Stellaris next week, I think. I'm going to try to. I passed the mid... My mid-game got borked.
Nice.
The cons appeared. They got trapped into an area, and then it turns out, I didn't know about it until later, the other more empire that's just as powerful as me, but a little bit more... they have less fleets, but more technology. They had a gateway into the system next to them.
Oh, boy.
So they just zoomed in there and beat up them.
Nice.
And won. And then the cons just... they didn't send out, like, their top fleet. It got borked out, so their, like, 80k fleet was just stuck at their system.
Oof.
So the con died, and they returned to being Marauders with one system instead of 4 this time. Because it still has an 80k fleet in there. Just doesn't go anywhere.
Nice.
Yep. So, I'm finally getting to mega structures. I don't know if I'll do many of those. I don't know what's going to happen.
Your favorite thing.
I do love mega structures.
Just building all of the ring worlds and me getting a billion pop-ups of mega structures I don't care about.
Well, I've been getting those a bunch too, because people have been building gateways and stuff. But
now you know.
They also have these weird, like, hyper relays that were added in.
Yeah, those are a thing.
Yeah, they're like a mega structure that you can build on your own. That, like, it's faster, but, like, you have to kind of build it in slowly. I was building a bunch of those too, which has been really interesting to build up. The hyper.
It's like just a mass relay for Mass Effect, basically, from what I've heard.
Yeah.
It's like fast travel.
Yeah.
Zoom.
It makes you not have to fly across star systems, so
yeah.
It still requires the same amount of time to, like, go in between relays as it would be for you to hyper travel, but you just then go one system at a time and skip out the traveling across star systems, which is actually pretty. It speeds it up a lot, but it's not like the gateway where you go from point A to point B instantaneously. You know, so I built them in. I'll build. It also means I don't have to build as many gateways, honestly, which I'm happy about.
Fair.
So, but I'll do more Stellaris. Hopefully, finish that up. Gonna definitely do the Final Fantasy 6. I'm pretty close to the end there. I'm World of Ruin. Just missing Go-Go's last character and a bunch of side stuff to do. I'll do that. A lot of it, and then I don't know what other game I'm gonna do. And expect the mostly normal schedule for stuff next week. But I will say, let me just check to make sure I've got the dates correct. I think I'm not going to be doing stuff. I'm going to be busy Saturday next week. I think.
Okay.
That is, let me just check. Yes, that's Pokemon Go Fest. So I'm going to be out and doing that.
That's when that's happening. I thought that was this week.
No, that's next week. June 4th. So I will be out in my town playing a bunch of that, at very least. Probably, I don't know if I'll go far enough into the time of discussing tabletop, but honestly, I'm probably going to be tired.
You might just be tired from all the walking.
I will probably not be walking. I'll probably park in a bunch of different parks for like 20 minutes at a time.
Of course.
Because I am lazy and tired a lot of times. I've gotten old. And I haven't walked a decent walk in the morning in like a couple of years now because of niece and COVID stuff. So I do have to get back to use the like morning walks someday.
Okay.
They were fun. Or at least, you know, a little bit more exercise in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'll at some point in time and get back into that. But for now, no. So just, I will be busy next Saturday, so we'll just call it on that one, just so I remember. So 2 weeks from now, back in the show. So I think that's everything I can remember right now that's important. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully see people at the very least Tuesday then. If not before then. So, and we'll both be here on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Unless something crazy happens again, which...
Also true.
I'm going to have to just tell everybody, hey, maybe you should go back to your boat briefly to heal up from Sandra because it hasn't been that long. You have plenty of water breathing and, freedom of movement. And then maybe something can happen and I've got an idea for a random person to show up in the middle of the ocean while you're not...
We did fully heal up with items, to be
That's
fair.
why I'm like, we could just retcon that and you can have charges back.
It requires us to remember what charges we did.
I just could count up
I think Sel wrote them down.
Yeah, but we can just, add in some or something. I don't know. I just thought of that we were possibly getting another person, and I was like, oh shit, we didn't even think about that during that. So
no, we didn't. We all forgot.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll try to figure that out or something. Maybe I'll have someone message you or something to at least get you to the surface.
Yeah.
Sure, someone has a message. Conkabar might have sent a message, but is he with you?
I would imagine he does.
He might be.
But he's not. He is with us, I think.
I don't know.
Someone else could have it.
Yeah.
Fuck,
Yeah, someone else could have it. There's a couple of spellcaster people in your team.
Yeah.
Anyway, bye for now, everybody. Farewell.
Bye.